Welcome to the MBTI Career Assessment. Today we will be going over the career report. The MBTI was first developed in 1943 in the United States by Catherine Briggs and her daughter Isabel Briggs Myers. Over 50 years, there have been many different types of studies done on the Myers-Briggs to make sure that it is still applicable for the world today. It has been printed in over 14 languages, and it is a personality assessment that is used the most throughout the entire world. It reflects preferences and does not specifically measure abilities, likelihood of success, intelligence or skills, maturity, or mental health. The MBTI is mostly used in organizations, a lot of times in college and educational settings, counseling settings, team building, sometimes for improving relationships, leadership development, and college and career development. Take a quick minute and write your name. Pause the video here. After you've written your name the first time, I want you to switch hands. And again, pause the video while you write your name the second time. After you have written your name twice, first with the hand that you normally write with, and the second time with your opposite hand, how did that feel? The first time, you probably did not even think about writing your name. You just wrote it. It came naturally. It was your preference. The second time you wrote your name may have felt very awkward. You may have started thinking about how letters are formed. What letter comes next in your name? It's a little bit more complicated. So when you think about the Myers-Briggs today, think about preference. There's not a right or wrong to any of these answers. It's more about how you preferentially lean to one side or the other. Today, we will be looking at 4 scales on the Myers-Briggs. We're looking at extroversion and introversion, and this is how a person is energized by the outside world. We're looking at sensing and intuition, and these are the things that people pay attention to. Thinking and feeling, how a person decides on something. And finally, judging and perceiving, a lifestyle a person adopts. The very first scale that we will look at today is extroversion versus introversion. And again, this is the direction in which we focus our energy and attention. So when you think about extroversion, these are those individuals who enjoy meeting, talking with new people on a regular basis. They're usually very friendly and verbally skilled, outspoken, and can be easy to know. They tend to speak out easily and often in meetings, and are the ones who usually are raising their hand in classroom settings. Introverts, on the other hand, prefer to interact with people that they know. It's not that they can't interact with new people, but that is not their preference. They can seem quiet in meetings and sometimes may seem uninvolved when really they are just taking in information and processing. They can seem often reserved, a little bit harder to get to know, simply because they're a little bit more quiet than the outspoken extrovert. When you look at some of these different traits, see which one, again, you tend to lean towards, extrovert or introvert. Take a moment, pause the video, and scan the following bullet points. Take a moment and look at the scale. You might be very clear on either side, fairly clear, or slight. But again, how clear are you about your preference? Sensing and intuition. And again, this is the way we take in information and the kind of information we like and trust. When we think about people who prefer sensing, they see and collect facts and details every single day. They can tend to be very practical and realistic, very specific and literal when speaking, writing, and listening. And you can notice the image above, they're very sequential and a very step-by-step way of doing things. Whereas intuitive types, they look at the big picture and they start seeing patterns and possibilities in the information. They can be more conceptual and abstract, and they always live in the future, looking at the possibilities. Again, take a moment, pause the video, and look at this list of characteristics for sensing and intuition. After you've looked at this list, which one do you think you have a preference towards? So, for this activity, I want you to think to yourself how you would describe an apple. Take a moment, pause the video, and put down some initial thoughts. After you've written some thoughts about how you would describe an apple, here are some general characteristics of how a sensor versus an intuitive might answer this question. So, a sensing type is going to be a little bit more literal, right? They're going to look at an apple. It is green. It might be round. It comes from a tree. Whereas an intuitive type might come up with ideas like it is healthy. It's a versatile fruit. So it's not going to be as literal as that sensing type. It's going to look at a bigger picture of an apple and describe it that way. Thinking and feeling is the third dichotomy. This is the way we make decisions. Thinkers use logic to analyze problems and assess pros and cons. They focus on the facts and the principles, and they're very good at analyzing situations. They take a step back from the situation, giving it a very objective view. Feeling types use their personal values to understand the situation, focus on the values of the group and organization, and they're very good at understanding people and their viewpoints. Unlike thinking, they take a step forward into the situation, taking an empathetic view. Again, notice some of these traits. Some of them may relate to you and some of them may not. But which side do you preferentially tend to lean towards? Again, take a moment, look at the bullet points, and pause the video. Again, a quick activity. If you were to explain to a prospective student why you chose to attend UNCC, what would you say? Again, take a minute and think about your natural response. If you tend to be more thinking in your personality, you might say things like, it was affordable. UNCC had the exact program that I wanted to study. It was just 3 miles down the road. So, very logical, sequential types of details. Whereas a feeler, on the other hand, may say that as they walked through campus on the campus tour, it just felt like home. They found people to relate to. They really liked the faculty that they met. And so you can see the difference in the very logical approach to making a decision versus a more emotionally charged decision based on feeling preferences. The final dichotomy is judging and perceiving. And this is again is our attitude towards the external world and how we orient ourselves to it. So judging types, they really enjoy making plans and following through on those. They enjoy being decisive, very organized. They don't mind deadlines because it helps them know the steps they need to take to complete something. And they enjoy planning ahead to avoid last minute rushes. Very dissimilar is perceiving. Perceivers really enjoy spontaneity. They respond resourcefully to changing situations, enjoy leaving things open, and often have to rush to complete things at the last minute if they did procrastinate. You'll notice that both types reach the deadline, but they just go about it in a very different way. Again, take a moment and look at some of these examples for both judging and perceiving. Which do you tend to lean more towards, judging or perceiving? Take a moment, pause the video, read the bullets. Our final activity. Let's say you want to go to Disney to celebrate after graduation. What do you do next? So, for instance, what do you think a judger would do? A judging type most likely would get on the website, do lots of research about Disney, the costs of hotels, transportation, the different rides at the different parks and which ones they need to have pre-passes for. There might be some registration for hotels, meal plans, lots of budget planning to make sure they can afford this trip. Whereas a perceiver type might do some of those things, but may also leave it a lot more open and flexible, regardless of the situation. So, for instance, a perceiver may say, we need to book the hotel, But let's just go to Disney. We'll go to the different parks. We don't need a definite plan. We can just bounce around. And so, again, they might go about this trip in a very different way. So, when you think about trip planning or any type of plan and organization, which do you tend to be more like? More organized and planful, or leaving it open to more spontaneity? Let's talk about the combinations of all 8 of these types. When you combine all of these types together, it leads to 16 unique individual personality types. Let's take a look at your personal MBTI results. On the first page, you'll notice a clarity index, and this will clearly indicate where you fall in preference on each of these scales. You'll notice for this particular index, extroversion is very clear at 26. Intuition is also very clear at 26. Feeling is slight in this area, meaning that there might be some situations where they might fall on that thinking side as well. But in general, they're using that feeling to make decisions. Again, perceiving is right there on the line of clear and very clear. So there's probably not much of an argument that they are on the judging side. So in this case, this clarity index indicates that this individual is an ENFP. Let's talk about type and careers. So next in your report, you will notice this page about career choice, and you'll notice the preferred work tasks and preferred work environments. Take a moment, pause the video, read through this page, and put a star or a check mark by each of the bullet points in those yellow areas that really do accommodate who you are. Which one of those really speaks to your preferences? This next area is looking at your strengths. When you think about your strengths according to your personality type, consider some of the challenges and also some of the strategies that you might use to go about developing the strengths in various environments. So, again, take a moment, pause the video, reflect on each of these bullet points, possibly by putting a star or check mark by each one that corresponds to who you are. Look at the challenges, some of the things that you may struggle with given your personality, but also some of the suggested strategies about learning to manage these. Take a moment, look at your results, and then come back to the video. The next page is careers, and this is looking at different job families based on your personality type. The top areas are most attractive job families, leading down to moderately attractive, and then finally least attractive. You'll notice the different scales and where you fall on these particular areas. Just because you may fall in the least or moderate for the field potentially you might be going for does not mean you should stop and not pursue that career. It simply means you should take a look at this in that some people who have your personality type really find great enjoyment and satisfaction in the work they do in these various industries in that most attractive job family category. When you think about different career trends for your type, look at this most popular occupations for your type. This will list usually 24 different career paths that have been seen over time to be a very good fit for this personality type. Again, take a moment, review these, and see how similar they are to the careers that you have considered pursuing. Take a minute and pause the video. Another thing to consider are the least popular occupations for your personality type. And these occupations most likely would not be a very good fit for your personality. It does not mean that you have to completely avoid them, especially if you're excited about a particular career, but it does mean that you need to be aware that there might be some things to cause strain. So again, take a moment, pause the video, reflect on these least popular occupations, and then we'll come back together. Finally, I wanted to introduce 16 Personalities, which is a really cool website for you to continue to explore your MBTI results. In addition to your career report, 16 Personalities will lead you through a variety of other fields to give you more explanation on different aspects of your career development. Some of the things that you will find within 16 Personalities, again, are your strengths and weaknesses, relationships, friendships, parenthood, career paths, and workplace habits. It's very important to continue to explore your personality and how you particularly fit within certain environments. or your brand management plan, you will be filling out the personality tab. On the left-hand side, make sure you put whether you're an introvert, extrovert, sensing or intuitive, feeling, thinking, or judging on perceiving. And then on the right-hand side, write a short paragraph on how does your personality complement or conflict with your job function, target industry, or geographic location. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. You can always meet with a career coach to learn more information about your particular personality type.